please. I'm going to read, as I usually do, for those of you that recognize me, a couple of verses from the Bible. I want to read this first. The social life of the nation was characterized by adultery, robbery, and murder. The luxury of the wealthy was built upon injustice and oppression of the poor. When was that written? Anybody want to take a guess? 750 BC. It was in the book of Amos. And here's a couple of verses. This is Amos 8, and this is from the King James. Verse 4. Hear this, O ye that swallow up the needy, and even to make the poor of the land to fail. That's verse 4. I was going to read more, but we'll stop right there. Think about that. That problem has been here for decades, for centuries. And if we don't straighten this out here in the country, and God have mercy on us, dear Lord, have mercy on us, give us understanding for what's going to be said here tonight, that we may take it to heart and use the Bible as the authority in law. Dear Heavenly Father, we most humbly ask you to open our hearts and our understanding of the times. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Join me for a pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Now we'd like to have a word from our education chairwoman and lovely Carol Bardecki.
Okay, usually we do a little blurb about the Constitution, but tonight's different. I came across two movies, two documentaries that are excellent. They show how we got into the trouble we're in now and who's behind it, who's been pushing it, and for how long. The one movie is called Agenda, Grinding America Down. And the other one is called Agenda 2, Masters of Deceit. I'm going to show those two movies at Wagner's Restaurant. One on Wednesday, January 27th, and one on Wednesday, February 17th. You don't need to write that down. My table's right inside the door in the back. If you come back to my table, I have slips of paper with the two movies on and the dates when they're going to be shown. So if you want to come see those movies, just pick up one of my slips of paper and you'll know when they are. Okay, now to the other. My February class is going to be on Wednesday, February 3rd, 6 p.m., and on Monday, February 8th, at 3 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. So you can come to any one of the three, Wednesday the 3rd of February at 6, or Monday the 8th between 3 and 6, or at 3 or at 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Now, before I give Linda the microphone, how many purchased raffle tickets? All right, very good. How many do we have left back there? 7 tickets left, so you still have time. We're not going to hold the draw until later, but I just want to tell you a really quick thing. If you don't think you can win, I told you guys last month that I went to that thing with Deborah and won 2 guns. Well, now wait, it gets better. So, bought a raffle ticket at Rifle Fire Company. Deborah and I were driving to Birdsboro after the meeting last month, and I get a call, and I thought it was a joke. Well, I won another pistol, so I won 3 guns. So I didn't buy any to this raffle, so that, you know, I don't want to win all the guns myself, so I have to share that with everybody. So, yeah. And
Is this on?
Welcome everybody. It's nice to see you out in this cold night. You know what's coming, don't you? the white stuff. So it's coming tomorrow though, so we're okay for tonight. First thing is Will Strunk here. Will Strunk. He won second place in our contest last month for guessing the length of the string, remember? And he didn't get his prize. So, okay. All right, and another thing, we are having some difficulty with our monkey mail, as Eldon calls it. I didn't know what he meant, really. It takes me a while, but finally I'm thinking, monkey mail? Oh, it's MailChimp. Chip, monkey. Okay, anyway. How many of you are getting, or how many of you got our flyers this week? Raise your hand if you did. Through the Berks County emails. You did? Okay. How many of you did not get them? Oh, okay. And of you people that did not get them, any of you on Comcast or Verizon? Raise your hand. You didn't get one, Joyce? See, we're having a problem. So see me at the back. I have some instructions printed out to help your computer receive it. We are even having trouble. We don't even get our own emails. So something's going on. We're not sure what. But if you see me at the back table there, I have instructions for you. It must be something to do with the spam mail or something like that. Anyway, enjoy the evening.
Thank you, Linda. Well, I'd like to ask Jim McTish to come up now from the Berks County Sheriff's Brigade. He has an announcement. And it probably is a problem with your spam filter, just so you know. Linda has instructions, but if you don't accept an email from the Berks County Patriots, it's going to come through as spam for this mass email. So any mass emails look that way, so you got to check your spam filter. Don't ask me how to do it. I have some ways. I don't know.
Thanks, Jim. I don't know how to do that either. Real quick, the Berks County Sheriff's Brigade this year, we're focusing on emergency preparedness workshops for the individual, family, as well as the community. And our programs are the third Sunday evening at 6 o'clock at Wagner's restaurant. Also have a phone at 5:30 to 5:50 doing a little bit of prepper discussion. So if you happen to be a prepper, come a little bit early, you can pick up some prepper information. There's some flyers on everybody's seats right here regarding this Sunday's workshop. Somebody's out. We have a program where the guy from the Berks County Emergency Services is going to be there, as well as Red Cross. They're going to do presentations on, the guy from Berks County is going to do a presentation on one of the responsibilities of the townships, municipalities, and counties, and state and federal government during and after a disaster. And the Red Cross will do a presentation on what you need to be doing at home to prepare for disaster. Those kinds of things this weekend. We also have a couple other programs I just want to talk about real quick here. We have a professor from Alberta University coming in May. She's going to talk about normalcy bias. She did a lot of work up in New York City after 9/11. She went up there and assisted mental health issues with all the first responders. She's going to talk about her experience and normalcy bias. Basically, normalcy bias is something happens, you refuse to accept it, such as a situation where people be in their tires, they go to leave, then they remember their computers are on or some nonsense thing, they go back and turn it off, and meanwhile, these disasters happen, they don't get out of the building. We have an attorney coming in June. He's going to talk about Pennsylvania's council doctrine and reference to the OODA loop. In July, we have a residential fire prevention program. And then in August, we have a representative from Amity Township, his office from Amity Township. He's going to come out and instruct us on how to set up the neighborhood watch. So we encourage everybody to come out and participate in these workshops. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Okay, at this time, it's time for our legislative updates, and Sam is going to update us on 76. Okay? No? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you get much closer? Okay, I'd like to give you an update of school property tax elimination. First of all, let me take you back in time a little bit to the latter part of 2014. At that particular time, there was a vote in the Senate Finance Committee. For the first time ever, school property taxes were passed out of the Senate Finance Committee. First time it was passed out of any committee whatsoever. It certainly shows the effort of that all of you put in and that we're making progress. Let me take you forward just a little bit. 2015, in the beginning, we developed a strategy. Plan was working. Take you further to November 23rd, 2015. At that particular time, there was a historic vote in the Senate. It's what we wanted for a long time. It was a for vote. We wanted an up and down vote. Unfortunately, things didn't work out as we wanted. The vote was 24 for, 25 against. Actually, it was 24-24, but because of a tie, Lieutenant Governor got a chance to do the tiebreaking vote for 24-25. By the way, Senator Wagner, I know is in the room somewhere. Senator Wagner. Senator Wagner, just so you know, he voted for school property tax elimination in the Senate. He was one of the 24, and we certainly want to acknowledge him for voting for it and doing what was right for Pennsylvania. Thank you, Senator. Now, let me give you some of the backstory to the vote. First, we estimated that the vote should have been 27 for, 21 against, with 48 senators voting. That's another story, by the way. Why 48 senators and why not 50? This was such an important vote. All 50 senators should have been there. Again, that's another story we could talk about later. Okay, what happened? Why did we lose by one vote? We lost because of betrayal, deception by at least 3 senators, and other shenanigans. I'm just going to touch on one area. About a week before the vote, 2 senators became turncoats, redcoats, flip-floppers, whatever you want to call a person who says they're going to do one thing and does another. Well, not all of them. Senator Kim Ward and Senator Tom McGargle, I believe it is, a week before the vote, they changed their support. They were for school property tax elimination all along for years, and a week before they changed. Now, why did they change? Why did they vote against it? The bill didn't change. It was basically the same bill for years, except for an increase in the PIT, which was expected. Were they not true supporters all along? Were they lying to their constituents when they campaigned and told them that he supported school property tax elimination? Were they lying to other senators when they told them they supported school property tax elimination? Were they lying to us when they told us they supported school property tax elimination? Or did something happen in Harrisburg? Did they yield to political pressure, or lobbyist pressure, or both? Some of us think so. Not sure. I do want to tell you that the Republican leadership, along with Governor Wolf, tried to derail school property tax elimination through the budget process by taking funding that school property tax needs, such as sales tax and the PIT tax, or a combination of the two. I want to tell you that a handful of House Republicans stopped it. One of them is in this room tonight, which I'd like to acknowledge, and that's Mark Gillen. Mark? As I understand it, that battle's not over, but I'll get back to that a little later on. Okay, where do we go from here? First, we will not allow betrayal to go unchallenged. We're going to go after them no matter where they live in the state. They can run, but they can't hide. Actually, we already started. One of the senators I mentioned earlier was Senator Kim Ward. We actually went there on Saturday, January 9th and January 18th, January 9th and January 16th. Dean Klopp with Pennsylvania Alliance led several groups from this area here. We went to Greensburg. We then joined up with other groups there and canvassed that particular area. Now, by the way, that's over 5 hours, 500 miles round trip. We did that in one day, back and forth. There were, I believe, 23 of us went the one Saturday, and 20 went the other Saturday. We started out, we met at Kim's office, which is in a strip mall. We didn't expect her to be there, and she wasn't there. So we put some posters on her, outside our office, so she knew we were there. She did, because of the conversation we had earlier. And we took a group picture. From there, we went to her house. Now, only 3 people, we didn't want to seem like a mob, went up to her door. There was a car there, we thought she might answer. Don't know if she was home or not. No one answered, so at that particular point, we wound up having all of us go up and take a group picture. Again, another. And this has been all over Facebook. She lives in a very ritzy area. I think there was only 3 or 4 other homes in that particular area. So we went and we talked to her neighbors. We told her what was going on and what Kim did. These are her neighbors, folks. They were not pleased. From there, we broke up into groups of teams of 2 and 4, got in our cars, and then drove to other areas of Greensburg. And just to give you an idea, this is all well planned. This here happens to be a map of the Greensburg area broken down into zones. We then picked a zone, which Linda and I went out on the night, and we picked zone 1. Here's zone 1. All the streets are labeled. We go up and down the streets and talk to the neighbors. We find the same thing, unfortunately, every time we do this. They don't even know what's happening in Harrisburg. They don't even know there's a bill in Harrisburg that's going to eliminate school property taxes. They want to eliminate it. They heard things were going on for many years, but not specifically, and they certainly didn't know that Kim Ward, their senator, voted no, and they were quite upset. We distributed those 2 Saturdays, I believe, about 2,000 sets of assorted literature and collected, maybe about well over 500 signatures. Now, in addition to that, what we plan to do, we're going to have a town hall. We're going to do robocalls in the area. We're going to do other advertising in the area. We're going to do pamphlets in the area. We have all kinds of different plans to bring this. Basically, what we're trying to do is re-educate her and educate the constituents. So we will have a town hall with them. We also plan to do exactly the same thing with other senators, and there are at least one senator we plan to even go a lot further than that. I want to read you 2 things that came about. And this has to do with, I said about Republican leadership and Governor Wolf trying to disrail school property tax. Maybe Senator Wagner might actually touch on this. But I received a majority leader leaves door open for higher taxes. Senator Jake Corman left the door wide open for increasing the personal income tax and/or sales tax. Despite opposition to tax increases among the majority of Republicans in the House, and possibly a majority overall, Senate leadership is still pursuing a path that would require taxpayers to dig deeper into their pockets. We're looking forward to Mark Gillen and some of the other House members to hold the line on this. Hopefully, Senator Wagner can help as well. Folks, I told you what we're doing. This takes a lot of effort, money, and manpower. We certainly could use some of that from each of you if possible. Now, there is a donation. Linda has a donation information in the back. If you would see her and possibly consider doing that. This does not go to the Berks County Patriots. This actually goes and is put aside for just to eliminate school property taxes, the things that I told you about. I want to add to that a little bit. This is actually off the script, and I might even get in trouble for this. While the budget, if I'm not here next month, you know I did. Rod, I'm not here, I know. Anyways, I was following the budget process very closely, particularly my representatives. And fortunately, the representative who I have, by the way, I'm speaking not as an officer of the Berks County Patriots, I'm speaking just as an individual. And I'm very proud of my representative. He held the line. He was one of those, with Mark Gillen, who held the line. And like Mark and my representative, there's going to be signature petitions which start, I believe, in a week or so. If any of you happen to be in the district that I'm in, which is Leesport, Charlotte, Will, and several others in that particular, see me, and maybe you might want to consider doing something for that particular individual. And also, the others, like I said, Mark's here, others that you might want to consider if you think they're doing the bidding that you want them to do, they're certainly going to need your support as well. Okay, folks, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the evening. Okay, as Elton makes his way to the stage, do anybody here remember Vic and Pat McGarvey? Okay. Well, Vic was a very good patriot. He had been coming here for years. They had just left before the new year and moved out to Nebraska to a new home to start a new life because Pat had her family out there and grandchildren. Vic passed away on New Year's Eve unexpectedly. It happened very quickly, heart attack, and they tried to do surgery. And speaking with Pat, he survived the surgery, but if he would have survived much longer, they would have been taking his limbs off. And if you know Vic, Deb and I got to spend a lot of time with him. He was a very independent person and did a lot of work and things like that. He never would have done very well. But he passed away New Year's Eve, so there is plans for Saturday, 2 to 5 p.m. at the Abraham Lincoln. Please come and show your support for a fellow patriot. Pat is bringing his body back. He was cremated. So this Saturday, from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Abraham Lincoln, is going to be a celebration of life for Vic McGarvey. Now, we don't know with this storm coming in. Pat has not communicated to me that anything's canceled, or moved off a day. Please watch the website. Just log on. We will, if there's any change, it will be put on the website immediately. But as of right now, it is still 2 to 5 p.m. this Saturday at the Abraham Lincoln. So please come out and show your support. It's a celebration of life. Pat doesn't want it to be something that's a bunch of crying and everything. She wants what Vic would have wanted to celebrate his life, and that's what it's all about. So please come out. Elton?
Thank you, Jim. It's a pretty hard act to follow after Jim I don't care about, but after Sam, because 76 is all our mind, and I'm going to get a little crude. our elected officials screwed us big time and royally. Unfortunately, they don't live in this area. We cannot vote them out. But if any of you have any friends that live out in the Greensburg area, boy, you tell them Kim Ward's got to go. Anyway, that's not what I came up here for. The agenda said I'm supposed to talk to you about the Schuylkill Valley School Board. How many of you live in the Schuylkill Valley School District? Okay, a few of you. Of all the people sitting here, who have been at a school board meeting in the last, say, 2 years? Anybody? Oh, boy, I'll tell you what, I am enthused. I did not expect to see that many hands. What is happening in Schuylkill Valley affects every one of you sitting here that are from Berks County. The Schuylkill Valley school teachers are the highest paid in the county. They are 10 months past the contract date, and they have taken it to arbitration. The arbitrator suggested that they get something like %.25 or something, I forget the exact number, raise annually. The school board disagreed and voted no. They do not want to give any raise. There are some teachers with their perks and other little add-ons are taking home more than $100,000 a year. In addition to that, if they work for their 35 years, retire, they can collect 87% of their salary in retirement funds, and you add on Social Security, their take-home pay after retirement will be more than what they were receiving when they were teaching. Our school board happens to be very people-oriented. I know probably half of them, and they're good people. They're trying to hold the line. I spoke to school directors from 2 different districts, and they told me they're all watching Schuylkill Valley. And that's the reason I'm talking to all of you. It's not about Schuylkill Valley. Whatever happens in Schuylkill Valley is going to affect all of you. If the teachers with the highest pay in a county get a raise, you know what the pressure is going to be on the other school boards. So what I'm encouraging you to do is please attend the Schuylkill Valley School Board meetings. The meeting of their committee, when they really discuss issues, is usually the 3rd Monday. The regular meeting is the 4th Monday up at the high school on 73. It doesn't matter, you don't have to go there and say anything, just show up, just have a body show up. The last time I went to a meeting, I made a presentation. 3 of the school board directors came up after the meeting and thanked me for showing up. They want to hear from you so desperately. 2 months ago, there was 150 teachers showed up at the school board meeting to promote their case. How many citizens, taxpayers, do you think attended that meeting? Anybody got a guess? 0. 0 is right. There wasn't a single person there who wanted to do anything about their taxes except bitch to their neighbor. I cannot impress on you how, I know I'm preaching to you, and it's deliberate, but we have got to start going to our school board and municipal meetings. They want to hear from you, they want to see you, and I encourage all of you who live in other school districts, the 4th Monday of this month, show up at Schuylkill Valley, show their support. You got to pity the school directors. They're fighting to keep our taxes down, and they're getting no support from us. I don't know what else I can say, but boy, take a couple minutes out of your life and help yourselves. I know I'm preaching every time I stand up here. I keep saying, go to meetings and so forth and so on. But I mean it sincerely. The reception I got is never antagonistic. It's just the opposite. They welcome people to come and sit in their seats, and you don't have to do anything. Just say hi. That's all I have. Any questions? Thank you very much.
One back here. Question. Oh, we got a question back here.
I'd like to make a statement on a follow-up on that subject. In the 80s, I and there's a friend of mine even here tonight, we had a thing called the Taxpayers League for Schuylkill Valley, because we live in Center Township in this district. And we had a big group at that time, and we got absolutely nowhere with the board at that time at all. So it broke up. So it's not that we didn't try, and I would be coming to the meetings more, but we have a big project in our township right now with supervisors also. But I didn't forget about the school board meetings either, but we did try very hard. Sally Griff is one of the ladies that I was with, and we had a big group going then, and I don't know whatever happened that it broke up. But the board never cooperated with us. And if you had a student in school at that time, some of them students were treated unfairly because of that. And that's a fact.
And I know what you're talking about, but please see me after the meeting. And I know Sally very well. The school board, the people that we have on the school board today are not the same people that we had back when you're talking about. So let's get involved again. Thank you very much. I appreciate your
I
input.
just want to tell you how far we got at that time.
I have a question to ask you. When they had the problem with the rebel flag, where were you? I didn't see you down there.
I never heard about that problem.
Oh, yeah. You didn't know about it? It was all over these boards. And you know the reason why a lot of people don't go down there? Is because, I'll tell you why, I was down there that night. And they said that it was against the law to wave the rebel flag, but it was okay for the Spanish kids to have the Puerto Rican flags on their cars. And that to me was being as prejudiced as you can get. And I was there that night, and I fought with them that I was almost arrested.
Yeah,
So
see,
when you want to talk about them wanting to hear you, you come down and tell me about it.
see one of us after the meeting, please. When it comes to the flag, I too supported the rebel flag when they were talking about that, so it's not just you, sir.
But people don't understand that they were saying that it was a radical thing. I
It's
served
not.
in the South when I was in the service, and all that means to the people and to myself is it was a battle flag. The same way as the Union Jack, okay? So don't give me that shit that it was a rebel thing. Okay.
Thank you. Rod?
One more here.
One more, this is it.
I'm Sally. I'm with Wagner. We did. Concerned citizens, Schuylkill Valley School District, fought the school board. We ran right in Hampton. We ran right, and we won. So it can be done. What happened was we got our people on the board, and settled down, and people just drifted away. That's how that is. But you can do it. You can do it. We backed up polls in Center Township till midnight with write-ins. And as long as you were in that door, they couldn't turn you away. So it can be done, but it takes a lot of work.
The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. That means forever, you don't quit. Ever, ever, ever. I will do this till I die. Rod?
Good evening, Patriots. Well, I'm supposed to introduce our main speaker now. My colleagues took my time, I suppose, but I guess that's Miller time payback. Anyway, I'm still going to cover some of what I wanted to discuss. Our time is quite limited, as you might expect as volunteers, we got families, we have holidays coming up and a lot of other reasons, that there's only so much time in a day for us volunteer time. But on the same token, those folks were paid to do the job and not simply volunteers. They must have taken a month off too, because as you know, we got no final budget, we got no property tax, we got no pension reform, and that's just three that affect our wallet. There's a lot more we didn't get, but be that as it may, I'm thinking about all of this and say, well, pensions is a concern of ours, but when I look at all the events throughout this nation and world, you know, there's a lot bigger fish to fry. And if I just would only mention a few things that are on our mind that certainly are things that need to be discussed, but I even look at the presidential race on both sides. Republicans, depending on the poll, the three leading candidates are basically anti-establishment candidates. They're as fed up with their own party as some of us are with their party. The Republican establishment is trying to figure out what went wrong. Those of us that paid attention, we know what went wrong. So they'll have their problem. On the other side of the aisle, they have a candidate that potentially could be a felon till this is over. And if you don't want the felon, you can have the socialist. That's our choices this year, and that's where we're heading. So, you know, we've had a Ross Perot, we've had a George Wallace in the past, but we've never had a presidential election like the one we're going to get at this time. So this is going to get quite interesting and messy. Okay. Having said that, I would just like to make a couple of comments about the kinds of things that are on the mind of us in the legislative committee that we just don't seem to get to because we are focused on state issues, and those federal and international issues are just beyond our scope and ability to get anything done about it. And I mentioned other things in the past. You know, trade imbalance. We had a speaker up at Dean Klopp's meeting just last week talking about the economic collapse of this country, and the 19 trillion we're at. And as I pointed out, that trade imbalance has got to be important. Others don't think so, but I wrote an article in 1995 on GATT and NAFTA. Now some of the presidential candidates are concerned that, yeah, one of those two they didn't approve of either, or wouldn't have approved, but it's there. I wrote one again recently on the TPP agreement. Same thing. So international corporations with no concern for the sovereignty of this country and are only concerned about the bottom line. They have no border concerns. If going abroad to manufacture is the way they can turn a profit, hey, all they need is an R&D department to design a product, send it to China, have it made, bring it back, fill the shelves at Walmart using their sales office to do the job. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters till you think about the fact that those people that are supposed to be working to buy this stuff are looking for a job themselves. Consequently, this is all short-term profit and long-term consequences, I assure you. I'm going to skip just because there's too much going on here tonight to hear everything I have to say, but I can only say, but the one consequence that bothers me, we know the cities are collapsing, and those kids in the cities are looking at dead ends for work. That factory down the street where that minority kid or poor kid could walk to work and get a job in a factory and take home a paycheck, the factories are over in China. He'll go to McDonald's, or he'll get on welfare, or he'll steal, or he'll form a gang, anything to get his bling-bling on that his buddies are wearing, and we blame it all on the center city kid. We've taken his opportunity with other limited education he might have. Center city schools aren't necessarily a technical education, but he could certainly work in a factory. Factory's not there. I'm not siding with the kids. I'm saying we dug a hole here, and this gets in it. Oil prices. I'm sure most of you say, great deal. Oil prices down, we fill our tank on our car for nothing, for nothing compared to what it used to cost. Is everybody a winner? Is everybody a winner when the oil price goes down? Well, if I worked on an oil rig and my company shut it down because the profit's not there, or if I was working in Masella Shale and they capped the wells, I don't think I'd be happy about the oil price going down, because it's not always winners. And on top of that, we have a governor that says, I'll solve this budget deficit problem. I'm going to charge 5% severance tax on the oil drillers. Well, if those oil drillers leave the state and the oil wells get capped, 5% of zero is still zero. So it's not all what you think it is. Mideast. All I want to say about the Mideast is, if you don't have a scorecard, you don't know whose side you're on. That's an absolute mess of it. It's been over there for 1,400 years. But there was a time the United States financed ISIS just to take care of these desperate dictators over there. Now, $150 billion to Iran, whose leadership profess that their goal is to kill Americans. And we're siding with them. This is nuts over there. That I'm not one who can judge international politics, but I'm not sure we have people in office who are doing it either. So where it's going, I don't know, but I don't want to say any more about that. And beyond that, the other issues, as you know, border security, illegal immigration, sanctuary cities, prisoner swaps, Syrian refugees salted with ISIS infiltrators. It just keeps getting better, folks. I don't know if we lost our control of government or what took place, but I'm telling you, we had two methods of keeping government under control by our founding fathers. One of them was the Supreme Courts, the courts in general, and the other was the Fourth Estate or newspapers. Well, you've seen some of these issues that are passed on by the Supreme Court, 5-4 decisions. If Roberts himself would have not decided that penalizing people for not buying something the government wants them to buy is not a tax, if he'd have taken the position he should have taken, imagine, there wouldn't be any Obamacare. All of this hoopah and everything else that's taking place due to that, it wouldn't be there, but it's there. So, two things that we have going right now. Strip searching, the Patriots legislative committee. We've tabled that because of the pension crisis. So Judy Pelka's running that one along with Tom Campion. And the other thing we've tabled is Common Core, which Eldon is handling. And all of those, important as they are, we have to table them. We just don't have the time. We don't have the people. Anybody wants to help, we can use researchers. So, from there we go right into the pensions, and I'll sum it up talking about the pensions. How many, if I said Article 2, Section 8, how many say, you don't have to say any more, we know what it is. Article 2, Section 8. No one. Pennsylvania Article 2, Section 8 is the problem. It's not the problem, it's the problem that they're not paying attention to it. That's the problem. But, as it were, with the pension crisis as it is, the legislative committee is staying on top of this. And if I just sum it up with Article 2, Section 8, and I'll quote it. Our state legislators are entitled to salary and mileage and no other compensation whatever. That means they're not entitled to pensions by the Constitution. Yeah, the Supreme Court ruled pensions are not benefits. Well, benefits isn't in the Constitution either. That doesn't give them the right to say, if it's not there, they can have it. That would suggest they're allowed to buy a car in our expense because it doesn't say they can't buy one or anything else. So this is a real fight, folks, for the sovereignty of this state, if you will, that we are not getting the government we deserve. And I've said it before, it's us versus them, and them's winning. I don't care if it's property tax or pensions or whatever. $50 billion hole in the property tax, or in the pension crisis, and the bills now, the hybrid bills, the Tobias bill and the rest of them, they're doing nothing to solve the $50 billion problem. They'll solve it. You get your next property tax bill, it'll be in there, it'll get covered, but it'll get covered by you. Their defined benefit program won't change. And this is going on for years, so folks, I gotta wrap it up. I'm sorry I can't cover more, but my colleagues took my time and my thunder perhaps, so maybe next time. So, as it were, I'm gonna leave it with that, and not go any further with the issues, but I just want to say that regarding the pension crisis, Ronald Dammers being our steward of the pension crisis, and up till now, we've tracked 56 Senate House members and 24 Senate members that have been put on pension since 2001. We got their age. We got their age when they retired. We know how long they're going to live based on actuarial estimates of 78 years. And I'll tell you, we have the data, and if you add it up, we're $100 million already in debt to these folks, to a bill we shouldn't be obligated to pay based on the Constitution. And that's only the beginning. There's a lot more. There's a lot more coming. So I can only say that this pension crisis is as big as the pension problem, or as the budget problem, or anything else. I'll leave it with that, just to say that anybody wants to help us, we can sure use the help. And from that point, I'm behind, but I just want, I did mention one other thing. We're also tracking our politicians on our bills. We have our tracking bills, property tax, pensions, paycheck protection, any gun legislation. We have across the sheet. We have the names of the politicians that are sponsoring, co-sponsoring, voting for or against. We're tracking them right across the sheet, finding out who our friends are. And on the right-hand side, we're also having a tracking of who's getting their pension. If that guy is absolutely worthless on the issues, and he's taking his pension, or he's in the pension system, he's a liability to the taxpayers. He may not be in our district, but whatever district in, we're going to be able to pass the info on, and they need to be taken out. They're not doing their job. Pennsylvania, in 2003, I wrote an article. Pennsylvania's cost of government was by far the highest in the nation. More than New York, more than California per capita, just to operate. I'm talking about salaries and pensions and staffs and satellite offices, all totaled up. I mean, it's nuts, folks. We're not getting what we're paying for, and we got to stop paying for what we're not getting. Thank you for your time. Now, I would introduce our keynote speaker tonight, and I'm speaking of Scott Wagner. And Scott Wagner, he's really been our voice. Scott Wagner is one of the few up there that I can really call dedicated servants, perhaps even friends, that I would consider them friends, whether they would or not. But these folks up there like Scott Wagner and Mike Fulmer, and down here with Mark Gillen, and others, Bloom and McGinnis, this is the core of people that's going to carry our water, if it's going to get carried at all. And Scott Wagner, who was elected, by the way, in a write-in vote, unthinkable, a senator in write-in vote, 14,000 write-in signatures to put him in office. And he's the kind of guy that needs to be in there. He's not taking his pension. He don't take the perks. He's in there to do a job and clean house where it needs to be cleaned and attack the problems that need to be attacked. And with all those thoughts about Scott Wagner, all we need is 49 senators like Scott Wagner, and we got exactly what we want in the Senate. With all that in mind, I will introduce what I consider my friend Scott Wagner.
It's going to be a really tough act to follow. Good evening. Good to see everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. Is this better? Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see everybody here tonight.
I guess there is a big snowstorm coming, but good news is the county won't receive a lot of money from snow removal in the last 60 days. So it'll be a little bit more money that will build up the bank accounts and we can spend it responsibly. I appreciate Rod, the invite to be here tonight. And Rod sent me an email back, I guess about a week ago, and there were a couple things, there were really 6 items on the agenda that he said that everybody would like to hear about. But I guess, and some of these I'm gonna move quickly on, and I'll try to get, maybe keep my remarks brief. But anyway, limiting the size and cost of government. Bottom line is, we have a spending problem in Harrisburg. We don't have a revenue problem. Government has become so bloated over the years. This didn't start 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I would say this probably a little closer. I would say that this problem started maybe in 1970. So this has been going on for probably 45 years. And I think what really happened and why I'm involved, I started making political contributions back in the late 70s. And, okay, can you hear? Is this better? Okay, I'm gonna just get a little higher here. Again, this started probably a good 45 years ago. And I think what really happened, why I decided to run is, and for the reason that we elected a lot of people, that we were electing people, they went to Harrisburg, we thought we could trust them, and honestly, they were taking care of themselves. And I think Rod mentioned some of the pensions. When I started, I made a decision to run, and I started doing some research on pension payouts. There was a House member by the name of Frank Oliver from Philadelphia. It was in the House for 37 years. His pension is $28,000 a month, folks, okay? $28,000 a month, and you multiply that, it's almost $300,000 a year, and the list gets worse. Now, there's conversation about downsizing government and reducing the size of the Senate, reducing the size of the House. I would question whether the Senate really could effectively be reduced to 40 or 45 and be effective. I don't know the answer to that. But what I will tell you is that I think the House at 203, and Mark, you might attest to this, probably should be downsized to maybe closer to 150. 203 becomes I think it's very difficult to manage. You have Senator Terzai, Representative Terzai and Representative Reed, and they've got, they're managing basically 120 Republicans. And I think there's an opportunity to downsize the House. But what I see most of all is I see a lot of people that are hired in Harrisburg as staffers, and they come out of college or high school, and they work inside the Capitol, and that's the only world they know. Well, I'm in the waste business, and I've been in the waste business for 30 years, and while we have garbage trucks, we are hugely driven by technology. And laptops are almost outdated today. Today, the new device, the real thin Apple, they're called notebooks. There will be an opportunity to get some technology into Harrisburg and probably eliminate maybe 10 or 15% of the workforce in Harrisburg. But nobody in Harrisburg wants to address this. And that's why I'm there. Because the beauty about what I'm doing in Harrisburg, and I'm going to say this more and more often, I'm in the waste business. I've been in the waste business for 30 years. I have a great career, and trust me, if I wasn't in Harrisburg, I have lots of stuff to do back in my company, and I'm involved in some other enterprises. I don't need the job, and I don't need the money. And I am there to challenge people. I've been involved, I've purchased dozens of companies over the years. I'm involved in a lot of real estate partnerships, and I ask questions. I learn to ask questions. Because there were times I didn't ask the right questions, or I didn't ask enough questions. And if you're in business and you do that, and you have a bad deal, it costs you money. I learned that years ago. And I have a business deal right now. I have great partners, but the goal was to sell the company. And we didn't sell the company, and now I have a substantial amount of money invested in the company, and I missed a little detail about the return on my capital. So I should be getting a dividend on my capital, which I'm not getting. Just a small detail because I didn't ask probably an additional question. But in Harrisburg, if you've been following the last week or two, you know, I've been making some statements. I know probably we have maybe somebody from the press here, but, you know, I'm challenging the governor. You know, a lot of people, I ran into someone today who said, we don't, how do you make it out on the budget? Hey folks, we have a budget. The budget we voted on December 31st, or excuse me, the 23rd, was sent to the governor on the 29th. He chose to accept portions of the budget and balloonize the rest of the budget. We sent the budget to the governor, and Governor Wolf wants to play hardball and play games. So let the games begin, Governor. I mean, in 2 weeks, he has to give his budget address for the next budget. And quite frankly, I don't know how you open up one can of worms when you already have another can of worms that you haven't figured out and solved that problem. But it's getting very contentious in Harrisburg, and I think more House members, especially in the House, I'm seeing House members are really getting outraged by sort of the jamming of the tax package and other things. And in the Senate, we're standing strong, and my leadership knows that I will not stand for any tax increases at all, with an exception. There are easily 150 or 200 areas, and I call them turning over rocks, that we should be going in and we should be examining the money that's going in there and how it's being spent. We haven't turned any rocks over in Harrisburg. This governor is not interested in turning over rocks. He's interested in taxing people more. And where I come from, that's baloney. Now, there are other words you can use, but that's baloney, and it's not cutting it in my world. So the Governor Wolf, needs to start turning over rocks. And let's move on to the next area. And I know there was a lot of discussion about Senate Bill 76. I voted for Senate Bill 76, and when Rod sent me his email, he said, property tax Senate Bill 76, you indicated in one of your info letters, while you voted for it, you weren't sold on some of the aspects. And you went on to say that the audience will be interested in my comments. Here are the problems with Senate Bill 76, but I voted for it because we had to get the ball out on the field. This hiding the ball in Harrisburg just isn't working, folks. So let's get the 76 ball out on the field and let's get it worked out. But here are the problems and issues that have to be worked through. I talked about the school district over here, the teachers that are making $100,000 a year. There are 500 school districts in the state of Pennsylvania, and every school district has an independent school board, okay? I believe, and I may be off a little bit, but I believe that probably a good 70 to 80% of the school boards in the state of Pennsylvania have members on the school board that are either married to teachers, or were a teacher, or have a kid who's a teacher, or a brother who's a teacher. And in my world, that stinks of conflict. Stinks. And I mean, stinks like and we have to do something about it. And we have to have, I believe, part of 76 or some type of legislation has to address disclosure and transparency and conflict. The other thing is that we have 500 school districts that are negotiating teacher contracts year after year, and again, they're volunteers. And if you have conflict on the board, and you know their son or daughter or somebody's a teacher, they're going to favor giving that person 2%, 3%, or whatever. I think the school district over here, the little bit I know about what I heard tonight, they're holding the line and saying zero increase right now. I think it's warranted because the rate of inflation is less than 0.5%. And on top of it, teachers are doing, listen, I have respect for teachers, but teachers aren't doing too bad. $100,000 a year, health care benefits, working 180 days a year, and then building up a pension at 87% of $100,000 a year salary. And a lot of teachers I know are coming in and they start at 25, and the ones especially in the system right now that are going to walk away with the big pensions, they started at 25 and they're retiring at 55. They've taught for 30 years. There's a good possibility that their life expectancy will be another 30 years. They will make more in 30 years from their teacher pension than what they made in the 30 years of teaching. And again, I could just go on and on and on about that. So we have to do something with either a statewide contract. There has to be some control. But trust me, the most powerful enemy out right now, in the state of Pennsylvania against taxpayers at the table in every school district contract negotiation session. And, again, school board members are volunteers, and we, the school board, should be employing professional negotiators. So this is a big problem. The out-of-control wages, unless we get a cap on that, we can pass Senate Bill 76, but we don't have the cost drivers solved on the other end. The other thing is, I absolutely am a believer that we must eliminate prevailing wage mandates on school districts, okay? In my home school district in York, Pennsylvania, this summer, my school district put on 4 or 5 replacement roofs on their building. Replacement roofs, older buildings. They got 2 prices. The prevailing wage price was $2.8 million. The non-prevailing was $2.2. It was $600,000 more. They had to go with the $2.8 million. They basically wasted $600,000. We must do away with prevailing wage mandates on school district buildings, whether they're repair, maintenance, or rebuild. So how are we going to skin this cat? And this is what it's going to take. There are some senators that won't vote for prevailing wage elimination. But so I'm thinking there's a way to skin this cat. And I'm going to introduce, already have a prevailing wage bill, and now that Senator Pelleggi has left, I believe that we're going to be able to get that bill out of the Education Committee and get it out and start moving it forward. But this is what it's going to take to get it done. There's going to have to be provisions in this bill where each school district goes out and gets it. They're going to be required, if anything takes place, they have to get 2 prices, prevailing wage and non-prevailing wage, okay? And we're going to have to, in order to get everybody to play along, we're going to have to do an opt-in or opt-out. And the school board will make a decision. They can make a decision to go with the non-prevailing wage, or if they're in a heavy union district, say down towards Philadelphia, and they want to opt in and go with the prevailing wage price, they can go. But this way taxpayers will see the difference, the huge difference between the 2 bids. That's what's going to take. And I think over time, when people see how much money goes to prevailing wage projects versus non-prevailing wage, you're probably going to have lynch mobs at some of these school board meetings. So, I think that's a big step. I also, in the next couple weeks, am contemplating, and most likely will do this, I think we should have a moratorium on new school construction for the next 3 years. Okay? Enough is enough. Until we figure this mess out. But what's happening is we're continuing to pay pensions, benefits, salaries, and all this kind of stuff, and we have this runaway train. Senator McGarrigle, who is a new senator, he's in his 2nd year from down in Delaware County. He has a school district in his Senate district. It's being, or a building. A school district is building a building. The project is $140 million. Okay. Now I guarantee you, the prevailing wage costs in there are probably easily $20 million. But if that school district wanted to spend that, and the taxpayers were fine with it, they all wanted to pay their taxes, fine. But I think over here in other areas of Pennsylvania, people would have an option, and I think that's a way to slow down this runaway train. So, real quickly, the school board salary, the salaries on school board, or excuse me, the salaries of districts, the conflict on school boards, eliminating prevailing wage, and a moratorium, I think is a big step that has to be a component of Senate Bill 76. But Senate Bill 76 comes back up for a vote. I'm going to be voting for it because we need to get the ball out on the field. Again, as I said, hiding the ball just isn't working. I moved down on the list. I think, Rod, you have roads and highways include state police salaries. I joined the Senate about 6 months after the transportation bill was voted in. We now have the highest gas tax in the nation. Okay? When this bill was being contemplated back in October of 2013, November of 2013, I went to House members. Now again, I wasn't in the Senate, but I went to House members that in our county, and I said, I have an idea. Why don't you raise the license plate fees on motor vehicles from $36 and make them similar to what they are in Maryland? In Maryland, you pay $135 for 2 years, or $67.50, and not raise the gas tax as high as it currently is now. And so I'm throwing around an idea. Don't take this to the bank, but if we were to increase the tag fees on motor vehicles and we were to lower the gas tax, think about that. Do a calculation. If your tag fee on your car is double what it is, it's 36 now, and it were to double to 72, but we lowered the gas tax by, say, 15 cents a gallon, figure out how much gas you use over a year, and is that a better deal? I don't know the answer. But what I do know is somehow we have to pay for this stuff. And I don't know the answers, and I'm having a discussion tonight, and I'm willing to discuss, throwing ideas out on the table. I've been successful in business because we have thrown ideas on the table for over 30 years. And some ideas, and I'm the guy who comes up with a lot of the ideas in our company. The people who work for me, the senior managers, my CFO, my director of operations, are two people that say, that's the dumbest idea I've ever heard. Okay, or they say, that's a great idea, we should pursue it. And we run numbers, we do studies, and if it makes sense, we typically do it. But I think in Harrisburg, we haven't, as I talk about getting the ball out on the field with Senate Bill 76, everybody has a fear of getting it out on the field. And the other problem right now is House members, every House member, including Mark, is up for re-election right now. And every 2 years, right now, I think it's the next 4 weeks, petitions have to be signed, and nobody wants to do anything because petitions have to be signed. But listen, it's business as usual in Harrisburg, and we've got to continue to get things done. So, Rod, I'm gonna probably spin through for another 5 minutes, and I'll take questions. But I will tell you that I'm a business owner. I've been in business for over 35 years. And we have a lot of challenges in the state of Pennsylvania. In fact, it's very scary. I'm 60 years old. I turned 60 in September. And these are the challenges. And there's a lot of discussion. Sales tax revenue is big for our state, okay? When you go and you buy a refrigerator, you buy a stereo, if you go to the jewelry store and you buy a piece of jewelry for your wife, if the guys in the audience, if you buy jewelry for your wives, you get your points. But there's sales tax involved. I was talking to a jeweler down in Lancaster, and he said, Scott, I lost a $10,000 sale for a ring to the internet. He said, if I had sold the ring in my store, I would have gotten $10,000 and charged 6% sales tax. The customer came in, looked at it, actually took a photo of their cell phone, they bought it on the internet, they didn't pay sales tax. The internet is a huge factor right now that is affecting the sales tax revenue. And we have to have revenue to pay for things. I don't know the answer, but I'm throwing this out, and this is a challenge in a lot of states. The other thing that is very big, and I'm watching very closely, is that every single day, 10,000 people are turning 65 in the U.S. for the next 20 years. The largest birthday any single day are 85-year-olds. My father's 85 years old, and my mother's 83. And there is a huge shift that is incredible. And there's the silent generation, which my father would be the silent generation. I have a gentleman, my safety director in my company is 70, he's silent generation. I'm a baby boomer. We have millennials and Gen Xers in our company. In my companies, my waste company, we have 375 employees. We employ 4 generations right now. And it's very interesting to watch what's happening. And I had a very long discussion with a group of people this past weekend. The buying habits are changing. The baby boomers, as the baby boomers turn 65 and retire and get closer to 75 and 80, their consumption levels are going down. They're not buying as much. And the young kids today, the millennials and the Gen Xers, they don't want to own homes. They don't want to work in the yard. They want to live in apartments. They want to live in condos. They want to be mobile. It's a very different lifestyle they're looking for. And Pennsylvania has a very, very large state where we have a lot of retirees. And a lot of retirees at a point in their lives need health care. And we have to rely on the state and federal government to pay for these health care services. So these are demographics that are huge for us. And it's something we have an obligation to take care of people. And that leads me into the next area. I don't think we have an obligation to take care of people who commit fraud. And I can tell you right now, there's a lot of welfare fraud. There is workers' comp fraud. The fraud is everywhere, and I think it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the Auditor General, Jack Wagner, identified, I think, Jason, was $1 or $5 billion worth of fraud. And $1 billion worth of fraud just in the welfare department of general services. We don't do anything about this. And so, you know, there are people that pay taxes and work hard throughout their lives, and those are the type of people that we have to take care of and we have to respect. But my company, recently in the last 3 years just settled, I probably settled my 10th workers' comp fraud case that took place over a 30-year period. Had a young guy came to work for us, and he worked for us as a temp to hire for 90 days through a temp agency. And his first week on the job, on our payroll, he was injured. And it turned out, he said he had an injured shoulder. It turned out he grew up in Puerto Rico. He was in his 30s, was former semi-pro professional boxer. He needed both rotator cuffs replaced. My company paid for those. And we had an incredible task to get this, to finally settle out and get this guy off our payroll. And those cases typically run anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000 per case to settle out. Okay, and we settled it out for, I think, around $150,000 or $175,000 because we were so aggressive and we're self-insured. But I can tell you, those are the kind of things that if we had workers' comp reform in the state of Pennsylvania, and it helped businesses. And I can tell you right now that I believe, sincerely believe, that fraud in the workers' comp system costs between $2.5 and $5 billion a year to Pennsylvania businesses. Now, folks, why I say that is that everybody's interested in tax elimination on real estate. We're talking about Senate Bill 76. Well, we need to find $11 billion over here. So if we get rid of $1 billion of fraud in the Department of Welfare, and we get rid of, say, $3 billion worth of fraud in the welfare system, and let's say there's some fraud in the unemployment comp system and other areas, you know, before you know, we might be adding up $11 billion pretty quickly. Or this pension problem we have, and don't shoot me, I'm the messenger, but I've had a lot of conversations with lawyers within the Senate and on the outside. The deal that was made on these pensions, we have to honor. We cannot constitutionally not pay these pensions. So we have to figure a way to pay this very, very large bill. And I'll tell you another, we're just talking about the governor and something he's not talking about. I talked about turning over rocks. The state of Pennsylvania pays 1.37% to have $70 billion worth of pension money managed in the state of Pennsylvania. It's 137 basis points. It's almost $1 billion. If the governor would bring the investment people in and get them around the table, trust me when I tell you this, because I'm in business and I do this every day, they will reduce their fees by 1/3, okay? And 1/3 of $1 billion is $300 million, and that's $300 million that could go back into the pension system. But that's just another rock that the governor is not, you know, pursuing. So we have a lot of challenges in Pennsylvania, and I've pledged the 2 4-year terms, and so that's 8 years, and I'm in my first year of my first term. I'm not going away. And, you know, I didn't go to Harrisburg intentionally to make enemies, but I guess maybe I've made a few. I really don't care. And, you know, in the paper, you know, I serve on the Appropriations Committee, but in the papers the last couple of weeks, especially towards the end of the year, the governor came out and made a comment when he has a press conference over the budget. This was an exercise in stupidity, and that it was total garbage, the budget. And I sat through 31 appropriations hearings, which took almost 80 hours. One day, my feet were so swollen up, and I was going to take, it was like being on an airplane, I was going to take my shoes off, but if I'd taken my shoes off, I couldn't get them back on. And you know what, that's the kind of crap that this governor is saying that offends me, and offends other people like Mark that are up there. We do care what we're doing. There are some people that don't care, and there are some people that cast votes that aren't there, and I think we're going to start weeding those people out. And the people that aren't doing their jobs are going to, as I've heard, you're going to turn the heat up in some districts. And I think, you know, my goal is to educate the senators that I serve with and get them to start talking more. Over the years, the protocol was that the senators in the Senate did what leadership told them to do. Well, trust me, I've had a small problem, and it started out at probably age 2 or 3. I didn't do well when I was told what to do. And you ask my mother, she will tell you. And, but, you know, I'm up there to do the right thing, and, you know, 2 + 2 = 4, but it's time, and I think what you're doing, your efforts are very effective. And if you are in Harrisburg, I know Rod's been in Harrisburg, so some other people in the audience have been in Harrisburg, stop by my office. I'm going to tell you the truth. I may not be telling you what you want to hear, but I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. And like this pension problem, this is a very large problem. We have to solve this. This is an albatross that's going to sink us. So with that, I'll take questions. Rod, I'm not going to talk about the national situation, but we have a lot of problems, folks. And listen, I have been able to build a couple successful businesses over the last 35 years. The United States of America and the state of Pennsylvania have been very good to me. And it's my time to repay, and we're going to do the right things. And I think we're getting on the right track. Are we there yet? No, but I think we're moving in the right direction. But I will also tell you that I think we still have another 3 painful years with Governor Wolf in office. So let's hope that maybe Governor Wolf decides that maybe he doesn't want to run again because he's tired of dealing with people like me and others. So with that, I'll take questions. Thank you.
Senator Wagner, I absolutely oppose and am opposed to what you said, that we are obligated to pay for these pensions. No, we're not. You can roll those pensions back. If Rendell did it, and from what I remember, Rendell, did it kind of in the middle of the night or something, that I don't know why you're saying we're obligated to pay it. Why can't we just, if there's no money, there's no money, we just roll back the pensions to where they were before?
I hear what you're saying, and I would invite you to come to Harrisburg and come to my office and sit down with a couple of attorneys and they will explain. I'm not an attorney. It has to do with constitutionality. The pension vote that took place in 2001 gave benefits. We do not constitutionally have the right to take those benefits away. I don't agree with that.
My boss takes pensions
Well,
away when he doesn't have the money.
but it's not a government entity. That's the problem. And I'm only the messenger, and I spend a lot of money privately with attorneys, and sometimes my attorneys don't tell me what I like to hear, and sometimes I look at my attorney and say, I hear what you're saying, I'd really like to choke you, but you've been my attorney for a long time and you've kept me out of trouble. I'm only telling you what I'm being told. There are, I would invite you to come to Harrisburg and hear from the legal people. Now, let's say we decide to pull some fast one and we try something with the pensions. There is a 190% chance. Now, I'm not saying 100%. I'm saying 190% chance that the state Supreme Court is going to overturn anything we do. Because guess what? We lost the Supreme Court. So, but I'm being honest with you, and I'm not going to stand here and tell you, well, maybe we could do this. We are in a box. And I will tell you that when I look back at that 2001 pension vote, I just can't, what were people thinking when they voted in 2001? So I appreciate your comment, and please, I invite you, we'll give you, my chief of staff will give you my card. I would love you to come to Harrisburg, and if there's a way, trust me. I have also investigated, can Pennsylvania file bankruptcy? Listen, when Bethlehem Steel filed bankruptcy, they had 20,000 people that weren't working that were getting benefits and 10,000 people working. Bankruptcy really solves a lot of problems. Constitutionally, we can't file bankruptcy. If I could introduce a bill that would allow Pennsylvania to file bankruptcy, I would do it. I'd be back to do it tonight. But we are put in a box. And I'm the messenger, but I'm telling you, I'm determined we're gonna figure this out in some way. The other problem we have is, and this really angers me to a certain degree, we don't tax retirement income in the state of Pennsylvania, okay? But you know what really upsets me is the 2 guys that are getting pensions from Penn State. The one guy, $477,000 a year, and $455,000 a year. Do you think they can afford to pay 3% tax on their pensions? So Jason and I looked in, Jason High, my chief of staff, looked into taxing pensions over, or retirement income over 50,000. We can't do it constitutional because you're selecting. I mean, I'm a business guy, and in my world,